Hi, shalom, friends. So, there was a rabbi who saw his congregant walking in the street without a yarmulke. He was a little surprised because the guy's Orthodox. So he said, in a very nice way, he said, Beryl, where's your couple? Where's your yarmulke? And the fellow he had a quick retort. He says, Rabbi, the heavens above is my yarmulke. It covers me. To which the rabbi replied, such a big yarmulke for such a small head? Okay, it's cute, right? On both sides. I'd like to read into this exchange something deep. When the fellow says, Rabbi, the heavens above are my yarmulke, I actually think he answered correctly. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you should wear your yarmulke. But just thinking about it, what is the idea of a yarmulke? What's the idea of a head covering? Well, the highest thing that a person has is his head. Essentially, the head tells you what to do and how to do it. And for a Jewish person, he has to remember there's something above what he thinks. It's what God thinks, what God wants. So by covering the head, that's one of the reasons that we cover the head, and it brings to fear of God. So this fellow might actually, if he's really thinking about heaven above him as a yarmulke, that means he's really getting the idea. Of course, he needs a head covering, but again, just using the idea and the purpose of a yarmulke, he actually had the heavens be his yarmulke, because he was thinking, who created heaven? God. So that's my yarmulke. But if we read into that reply, the heaven is my yarmulke, as something that he's conscious and aware of God's presence, then the rabbi's reply is actually quite clever, which is, if you truly believe that, why are you keeping it to yourself? It's such a big heaven, it's such a big yarmulke, why are you not sharing that yarmulke? Yeah, let me bring it down a notch. All of us are familiar with the story of God creating the first couple, Adam and Eve, or let's use the Hebrew, Adam and Chava. And he also created a garden, a beautiful place, which we call in English paradise, Gan Eden. And he puts them in the garden. He tells them that they have to guard it and work it and so on. And then we have the famous story of the eating of the tree of knowledge, and then they're sent out. I have a question for you. The globe was created. All of the continents were created. All of the seas and oceans were created. All of the mountains and the valleys were created. Why such a big world for so few people? I mean, even though they were told to be multiply and fruitful and to have a lot of children, it's going to take a very long time for them to fill the world. Even today, we have over 7 billion people, and there's a lot of space still for people to populate. So I wonder. Of course, it's possible as the population would increase, God would expand the earth. That's something that probably we would do. We wouldn't make a 18-story house for just one apartment. So why did Hashem create all of this for just 2 people? And actually, it's left as a question mark. What would have been if they would not have eaten from the tree? So they would have stayed in paradise. So what would have been California? What would have been Uganda? What would have been Yemen? No one there. Then why create it? So I think a possible answer would be, it's not like it would not be populated. God created man in a certain way, form, and manner that whatever he does has an effect globally. So if Adam and Chava are in Gan Eden or directly outside of Gan Eden, whatever they're doing would have an effect on whatever creature and whatever molecule and whatever tree or grass or reptile is found throughout the world. Because one person is a world, one person incorporates the world. So if they actually would not have eaten from the tree of knowledge, we could suppose that the world would be paradise-like. It's not paradise because paradise has, Gan Eden would have a some type of dimension, and yet the beauty, the serenity, the decency, and so on of paradise would have had an effect even in the places which are thousands of miles away. Because everyone is truly everyone. Let me share with you the same idea, but just from looking at it from a slightly different perspective. Many of us, when they hear the word, we can fix the world, we can change the world, we can transform the world, we sort of inwardly cringe. Who are we kidding? I can't even change my neighborhood. How am I supposed to change the world? So let's suppose for a moment, if we could look at a big problem. Many of us are overwhelmed with big problems. What happens if we have, though, a small problem? Small problems we can handle. Big problems, it's just overwhelming. Well, what happens if you take big problems and break them up into small problems? Suddenly, we realize that we could do a lot. So in a humorous vein, someone went to a spiritual mentor and he was really down in the dumps. Spiritual mentor says to him, what's wrong? He said, oh, I got so many problems, I just can't deal with it. So he said, so many problems? Why don't you share? Let's see if I can help you. He said, I got so many, I can't even I'll tell you the 5 big ones. First one is, the roof is leaking, it's old, we called the roofer, I need a new roof. It just so happens to be that my car died, literally died, and I need a new car. I have 2 kids, one needs braces and one needs a tutor. My wife is overwhelmed. She says she can't handle the kids and clean up. She needs minimum twice a week help. And by the way, I'm exhausted. If I just had a weekend in a fancy hotel, I think it would save my life. I can't do any of that. So he says, 1 second. Let's see if we can minimize these problems. You mentioned you have 5 problems. Okay. How much money do you need for the roof? $14,000. What do you need for the tutor? $1,500. After hearing all the prices, he says, so basically what we're talking about is you need $40,000. He said, yeah, that's about right. He said, that's only 1 problem. You see, you don't have to walk around with 5 problems. You have 1 simple problem. You need $40,000. Now, before you say how simplistic and not fair, hold it. If you know that you need $40,000, we could start chipping away. Maybe I could get $5,000. Maybe I could get $300. Maybe this, maybe that. Finances. Maybe there's assistance. Maybe there's charity. Maybe there's a loan. If you walk around, I got a roof and a car and children and wife and business, and I can't handle it. What do you mean you can't handle it? Figure it out. What can't you handle? Money, you need a certain amount of finances. Believe me, issues of health is far more serious than issues of finances. But even health issues. Instead of saying, I'm dying because this and that and this and that, you start with something that you can handle. Let's take something not life-threatening. A guy comes and says, I get winded walking up the 2nd store. And the doctor says, you're 60 pounds overweight, so I'm not going to give any tests. Lose weight and come back and we'll talk further. So he goes home and he says to his wife, I'm going to die. It's not going to work. I can't lose 60 pounds. Impossible. She says, 1 second. Don't lose 60 pounds. Why don't you just make a resolution? No snacking after 8 p.m. Eat whatever you want, however you want, how much you want. A small little thing. 8 o'clock, no snacking. Another 2 weeks, walk around the block before you eat dinner. I'll walk with you after dinner. Even something like that, if you break it into smaller things, you could actually accomplish a great deal. I'm not telling you anything that you do not know. I know you know that. If I know it, you know it. That's not the issue. The issue is that we take the easy way out by simply lumping it all together. So as a rabbi, I'm telling you to lose weight? No. Let's bring this into Judaism. You know something? You need to be more observant. Rabbi, I'm not going to be a rabbi. I'm not giving up my shellfish. I'm not giving up my friends. We go out. I play golf on Saturday. Hold it. I'm not ready for all of that. He says, who's talking about that? Put up a mezuzah on your door. You could do that. It's easy. It's your house. You could put up a mezuzah. Rabbi, you just told me you want me to become more observant, more religious. How is one mezuzah going to do anything? You know what, my friend? Start with one mitzvah. Just one mitzvah. And everyone is everyone. Your one mitzvah of putting up a mezuzah will be good for you, for your wife, for your children, for your community, for your neighbors, for Israel, because you increased in God's protection on earth. And to someone else, you say, I can't come to synagogue every day. Fine. So how about once a week on Sunday, put on tefillin? I mean, there's so much we can accomplish by focusing on the small, easy things. Without us realizing it, we will begin to see how the big issues coalesce and become smaller. In fact, I might even throw in an image which Hasidus talks about. Sometimes if something is very big and you want to destroy it, you need a hammer or you need strength. Sometimes it goes away by itself. For example, you could have a wax figure. If you put a flame next to it, of course it will be a big flame. The flame doesn't have to burn the wax. The wax will melt when it feels the heat. Our life will change. And indeed, the world will change when we begin to bring in more godly energy, more godly heat. So it's before Pesach. It's the festival of liberation. We all need to be liberated from things that stop us, that hurt us, that harm us. Most of all, we have to be liberated from our self-imposed restrictions. I can't. We can. We can and we will. Start small, and you'll be surprised that you'll be ending big. Shalom.